What's up, guys? It is just about the 1 year anniversary of having my A-Liner Scout Extreme Off-Road Edition. So we're gonna do a year in review, kind of more things I like or don't like about it. Sorry for the echo. We're in the shop. I had spent 3 days at my land and got it cleaned up yesterday. And yeah, back home, had some more interesting issues with this thing. If you haven't seen the video yet, I'd had my original review of it. It got a lot of views, surprisingly. A lot of folks were looking at these things. There's a huge niche in the market for small campers, and there's not a whole lot of things that fill them. And yeah, I know a lot of folks were looking at these, so let's go over some of the things I broke, some of the things that don't work, and some of the things I like. So to start with, I can't show you the other jack over there because my new toy in the way. I have two bent leveling jacks. My land in Oklahoma is very uneven, and I use that to level the thing up and camp with. And yeah, we've been through some stuff together. These jacks, they're bent out of shape. This one up here is probably the worst. It still holds and it's still steady. As you can see, it is not straight at all. I may be able to fix that. I have not tried to yet, but if you notice also, I've removed the regular jack, tongue jack, because it interferes with the tailgate on my truck. I had some issues that tailgate on that truck stopped staying closed for some reason, and it popped open and wedged between the jack and the trailer. You can see the nice little dent in the top. So now that I've got the four-wheeler, I can't close the tailgate all the way, so I just took the jack off because I don't use it anyway. It had the wheel, you can see it over there. It is removable, and it didn't roll on dirt anyway, so there's no point in really having that. But you can see here that the jack frame itself is bent a little bit right here, and it does appear to bolt or self-tap into the frame, which is sketchy. Someone did warn me about that the entire body is held on with self-tappers to the chassis of this camper. Not the best for extreme off-road conditions. Now, a lot of folks expressed concern about these bubble windows leaking. I have not had any leaks through them yet. The only place this thing really leaks is these corners, and that's primarily just when washing it, not natural rain. It does seal up well at the top, so when it does rain on it, does not rain in, but if you hit it with a pressure washer when you're trying to clean it, it will get under everything, get in everywhere, all the edges, and especially the door, which we talked about originally, that does not seal worth of crap. Yeah, so I washed this thing yesterday. It was filthy. That's another issue I have, just the design of it. This is exterior. When you fold it up to this rubber pad, it overlaps. So anything that's on your roof gets in your headliner. And I don't have a whole lot, but there's some stains on the headliner on the inside from things in the roof. Another issue I have is they use this clear silicone on everything, and it is impossible to clean. It just, dirt gets on it and it turns ugly, brown everywhere. It's just not a good design. I've had issues with getting water underneath there a little bit. Again, only during washing. I've used pressure washer at home, not car wash stuff, because I can't really take this and fold it up at the car wash, and yeah, it's too much to deal with. And most of the car washes aren't tall enough for this once it opens. If you've been with the channel for a while, you know a couple trips ago when I got up to my land, I backed into a tree, and it did pull this away. And you see the silicone's a little messed up. I found some more matching screw with snap caps, and I just put some extra screws on it, sealed it right back up. Again, no leaks with that. And still battling with the spare tire. You can see that it is bent. And after my last trip, I got home, got a loose bolt. Not a big fan of that design. I really need to, before I bend the entire rear bumper, which it looks like I may have already. You can see that block is tweaked a little bit. I need to just weld basically a new tire carrier onto this, and raise that tire up another foot or so, get it up where it doesn't drag through the ruts. Another thing keeping this from actually being extreme off-road. And one of the features of the Extreme Off-Road Edition, it has a heavier torsion axle. I think most of them came with like a 2,500 pound torsion axle, and this one has a 3,500 pound, or it's something like that. It's a little bit heavier axle, but that refers to the weight that the spring, the torsion arm, basically lifts the tire up. The camper itself is not heavier, so all it's doing is making it stiffer. So when you're backroading and going up to my land, that road is horrible this trip, and it just has absolutely no suspension movement. You're not getting any, it's good on the highway, but when you're actually off-roading, it's kind of counterintuitive. And I had a lot of extra weight in the camper this time, which we'll talk about more here in a minute. Just having more gear inside. Tried to strap stuff down on the floor. So I think this thing's around 1,200, 1,250 dry. There's no water tank, obviously. I probably had another 300 or 400 pounds of gear in it, and still no suspension travel at all. Bounces back and forth, and it just rattles itself to death. It's a miracle things have not come loose. When I got to my land this trip, the steps had opened. They just bounced out because it just rides so rough. So another disappointing thing that makes this not an extreme off-road package. It's just a lifted RV, basically. And as I mentioned, cleaning it, this is the first time I've actually cleaned the roof. Had to get a ladder, pressure washer, and then I had to run inside of it immediately and put towels down everywhere and try to mitigate the damage to the cheap wood furniture in the inside. So I have not had any issues with the electrical, the battery and everything. No issues with water, even though the wiring is all just kind of bundled next to it, and that's how I got it. The lighting and everything has worked. I've not tried the solar still. I don't have a panel that'll plug into this. And again, my land up there is pretty much completely wooded, so it's hard to get lighting or sun access for solar panels. The fan has been fantastic, and it's no issues with that. My little toolbox has taken some hits from trying to get it in and out of my lot. I have to jackknife the trailer and the bumper of the truck. It's hit that a few times. I've replaced the gasket with some aftermarket stuff, and it still seals up. It's hard to close and open, but that was a little $99 toolbox from Harbor Freight. Other than that, one time I drove in the rain and I got spray off the truck and went underneath these and pretty much flooded both of the under seat compartments. It's the only time I've had real water issues with it. This time, after I washed it, it was completely lined, the inner fender, with water. There is a hole in here somewhere. It's galvanized inner fenders, and they are exposed into the cabinet, and you can see they're just hideously siliconed, with black silicone at least. You just got globs of this stuff everywhere. And yeah, I did get some water in that cabinet, so I had to let that air out. You see we got some scratches and stuff on it from going through the woods. The lighting does not seal at all. I've replaced that with LED. It is about as useless as the incandescent it came with. You see the silicone again, just filthy and coming away from the edges of everything. Not holding up well. The door handle, again, we talked about that in the original video. It's just spaced out with shims and poorly siliconed. And this is as clean as I can get this thing anymore. You can see that silicone doesn't even go all the way to the edge. I noticed this time after I washed it too that these taillights don't really seal. They've sealed the base of it to the truck or to the body, but the actual lens is just snapped on and it's loose. And I got some water in there. I had to take them apart, let them dry out. I guess it's just gonna turn into a complaint fest about it. See these little plastic caps? When I go to shut it, this side hits and it starts trying to rip these out. And it has ever since I bought it new. And so I have to kind of pull the front half of the lid this way as I latch it down and close it. I don't know why, it's just off just a little bit, or it's bent or what, but it's just how it's always been. All right, so coming inside, Again, everything seals okay. The worst part is up here. I mean, I can completely get to the gasket. There's nothing, it's real tight down here, or it's tighter down here, but that gasket could use being about another ½ inch thick. And up at the top, it just, yeah, there's nothing. I mean, it works as a vent, I guess, but the main seam for the top edge works fine. Again, no water's gotten in there, but a lot of airflow can get through these peaks in the roof. So my flooring is, like I said, I'm gonna have to try to mop it. It's really taking in the dirt, I guess you could say. It's a very porous surface, probably the cheapest vinyl plank flooring you could ever get in the entire world. Another issue I had, I piled everything up in here and I bungeed it to the pole for the table. So I had like 30 gallons of water and a storage tote and some stuff up here, and it was not moving at all. But we did start losing some of the finish on our fake wood. And these are so poorly wrapped in veneer that they got wet once that time that water got in the corners, and now it's all just peeling off. Those are your planks that go across here when you make this out into a bed. I'm probably going to take those out and not use them anymore. Also, the table top slides down in here and sets in there when you're driving, and it's just getting bounced around so much that this edge of it has started pulling away. You can see it's not really held on there very well. I mean, there's not much else you can do with that. You can only throw so much stuff on the bed. I leave the bed open, and I have not had any issues with that moving or falling out or anything. So I pretty much leave the bed made because it's just me camping. I don't need all of that. I don't need a couch. Cabinet doors, they do latch pretty well, but they do fly open. I had my jackery in here, and by the time I got to my land, it was open. The jackery was on top of everything in the floor, and it's just not holding enough. I think I need to do a latch type deal like the fridge has. I've not used the fridge since the first trip. It's utterly useless. I can't do anything without a generator. Can't power the fridge, can't power the AC, can't power the heat without having a generator hooked up. My generator can't do the AC and the heat at the same time, or the AC and the fridge at the same time. And the fridge, everything I put in here, it just, by the time I get to where I'm going, it falls apart. These come out of the fridge door. Everything in here, the shelves and stuff fall out. It's just not worth messing with. So honestly, for what I do, one of these without an air conditioner, without a sink, without a fridge, without all this extra crap in it, probably could have saved a lot of money and been more user-friendly. Make some kind of shelving cabinet here that I could actually put some locking drawers or something in, maybe fit a cooler in it that's a little more practical. No issues with the windows. They still fold down. I've got these covers I made in them. No leaks with any of that. I didn't even take these out last time I went up. Just leave it all in there. The fitment, again, was horrible on these. We talked about that in the original video. I mean, you can see the screws are all in at angles and just not very nice. And one main issue I keep having, I don't know if it's the uneven terrain, but I'll go to latch the top and I can't get it in on one side or the other, or just one side of one side. And I don't know, it's just the whole thing gets off kilter and twists and bends or something. I don't know. I can see light through up there. Now, for some reason, the gasket on this side is rubber. Gasket on this side is foam. Seals a lot better on this side, but this side, again, like I mentioned earlier, the foam, I can get my hand all the way behind it. It does bother me a little bit when you fold the sides over. You fold this side down, and then this side sets on top of it. So you have that rubber at the top, and that sets on this table. And then you have these two, and those set on that side. And it's pretty much puts the peak into the glass. So the bumpy as the road is I take and things I do, that just bothers me. So I always bring some of these little microfiber towels, and I'll ball them up underneath the peak when it's laying on that side to try and protect that glass. I do leave stuff in the sink. I'll usually shove something in there, cloth. You can see the grains come out. I've never used the water at all with it. And the last trip, something ripped my screen on this window. Just pulled it out, pushed it in, and ripped some holes in it. I've also put some commercial grade Velcro for my seat backs on both sides. Still, when I end up wherever I'm going, all the cushions are in this general vicinity. It's a little hard to see. I got most of the stuff off the headliner, but there is some dirt and things over there. I mean, it's a dusty rock mountain road, so I get a lot of dust in all the edges, especially around the door. Underneath this cabinet, it gets water if I wash it or anything because the door seals so poorly. You can see how much dirt is right here. It's 10 times as bad on the inside of that storage. But despite all the shortcomings of it being a RV type build, it does fit my needs pretty well. I mean, the space is good. I couldn't film this video when I was actually camping because there was so much stuff piled in here. And that entire seat over there filled full of stuff. This counter was full, that counter was full. I had stuff piled on the bed. I mean, it's a lot of stuff I bring with me. I like the layout and the design. It's not quite durable enough. I don't know that I could, I mean, maybe a timber and axle system, axle-less axle, something like that, but I don't know that the chassis of the camper itself is strong enough to actually handle that. Like somebody mentioned, and I showed you, everything's just kind of self-tapped into the steel. But maybe in the future, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna keep this thing. I don't know if this is my permanent solution and I'm gonna start modifying it. The air conditioner works pretty good. I've discovered though, I think I talked about it in a video a while back, it didn't do anything for a while. I had it on and it just would not circulate air and it would run. And it was just generator on high the entire day. You have to fold the bed back to be able to fill the air conditioner. Otherwise it gets trapped under there and it just cools the particle board. I don't know why, but the vents are up under there, those two round ones. And with the bed fully out, you get absolutely no airflow. So it could be 60 degrees down there and 100 up here. And there's just nothing you can do about it. Sort of putting fans in the floor and trying to circulate air. I've done a lot of stuff to try to remedy that. And we talked about before, we found out today, I bought it last year during the snowpocalypse here in Texas. The heat won't work if it's below, I think, 35 degrees. So whether you're on shore power or otherwise, it will not turn on. It's a safety. So yeah, other than that, I mean, that's eating up this entire half under bunk storage. That half of under bunk storage is absolutely inaccessible. You have to remove all your bedding, close the bed system, remove all the cushions, which don't have room for anywhere else, and then lift up the little lid to get to it. So I think maybe if I do keep it, putting in a door on that corner where I could actually use that space for something and redistribute the weight of what I'm carrying better, have some of it behind the axle, some of it in front of the axle. The fridge might as well come out. Honestly, I could build an electrical system, remove the battery from up front, run a dual battery system here, and actually maybe go solar and be able to at least use the lights and the fan and not have to worry about it. Have a couple deep cycles batteries in here and have the weight right over the axle. Might be a better use of space and weight. I'm sure that fridge is not lightweight. And then that air conditioner cool cat system in the back is massive and it's noisy. So I think that about sums it up. I don't know if this is the right thing for me or not. I mean, if you're just going to state parks and light off-road stuff, then it would be excellent. You have hookups and things where you go, then the parks package that it has could actually use everything and it would be just fine and dandy. But for extreme off-road, which this is the extreme off-road package, is not worthy at all. I mean, it's not like I'm crawling through Moab with it, but just mountain roads and unmaintained roads, and it's just not holding up the way that I need it to hold up. Honestly, it needs more weight. I think that's the main thing. It's too lightweight. It's only 1,200 pounds, 3,500 pound axle. There's no way to soften that. So I don't think it's really going to be worth me putting in more money to it. I'm still paying on this thing and trying to modify it and do away with half of the stuff that it has to make it work better for my needs. Just seems kind of pointless at this point. Again, it's not structurally damaged. The frame is straight. The tongue's not bent. I mean, I've put it through its paces, but it's just not quite what I need. I think now I may look at something that has the extension to put a four-wheeler on, because this old truck, again, that road is so bad, it's beating this poor old truck up. This thing has a bunch of new squeaks now after this last trip. Having the four-wheeler in the back, an extra 700-800 pounds of cargo. I've got airbags on the rear. I had to air up the rear tires a little more, and it made it ride that much worse because the road is so rough. I've got that brand new Jeep Gladiator Rubicon, but it's pretty much stock. There's no, it's got the Fox Racing shocks, and it's got some things that are nice. It's got sway bar disconnect and stuff that made that road feel a lot better. But when I pulled the camper with it, truck rode great, it was fine, but the camper was still bouncing all over the place and getting beat up. So I'm thinking what I need is something a little bit different. I need something that's more functional, I need something like that Sunray 109. I love that thing, but it's horribly built. Regular leaf spring suspension will not work whatsoever. They make a Sunray that's got the extension to put a four-wheeler on it, but I think if I do one of those, I'm gonna have to buy a used one and completely gut everything out from under it and put my own suspension on it. That way, I have a full kitchen. This has nothing I can use at my land. I need a little bit beefier electrical system that can run 2 or 3 days without being hooked up to anything. And I need a little more cargo capacity out of it. I need it to perform better off-road. I keep looking at that off-road sticker on here every time I say that because it's such a false advertising. But again, and this thing is good. It's light. It pulls good. It pulls good with the Jeep Gladiator, but it just can't do quite the things I need it to do. So I don't know what's in my future. I ideally would like to build something exactly what I need, but that's out of the question right now. I'm trying to sell my house and move and quit my job and go full-time YouTube with the RC stuff. And maybe at some point that'll be on the table. But as far as the platform goes, I don't think this is the platform that I want to spend a bunch of money on and try to modify to fit my needs exactly. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Got to fix a few things, replace the jacks and put the tongue jack back on. But we'll see what the future holds. If you're looking at these things, it's all about what you need. If you're if you're going to state parks, if you're going to national parks and you're just gonna park it in a slot, plug it all in, it'll be great. That's exactly what you need. It's ready to plug in and go. But if you're going off the grid, out of everywhere, away from everything, no cell service kind of deal, not exactly the most useful piece of equipment. And for what these cost, I mean, you're paying for this lightweight material. There's less particle board, but all the interior is made of particle board. It's all just, stick on wood grain. So not the greatest thing. I'm going through these back roads and mountain trails basically, and I'm getting dust in every little nook and cranny, and it's not tight enough, and the suspension doesn't flex enough. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'm happy that there's people that are interested in getting off the grid and doing cool stuff out in nature, and I encourage it 100%. Maybe this will work for you. Doesn't quite work for me, but that's the name of the game. Everything is built for a purpose, and they just have a different purpose than a lot of things have. So yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and see you on the next one.